I've played more than a few bleak hidden object games, but few are as unrelentingly dark as Enigmatis, The Ghosts of Maple Creek. Opening in the aftermath of a storm of biblical proportions, it follows a detective with a suddenly spotty memory as she attempts to piece together her investigation into the disappearance of a young woman in the titular town. The amnesia angle is a bit of a strange conceit. Things could seem anticlimactic since the main action of the plot has already taken place when the player starts the game. All the interviews have been conducted, all of the evidence has already been collected. The developers are attempting to elide over the slower aspects of detective fiction and just cut to the thrilling climax of the plot, with all the running through storms and fist-fighting with serial killers. Despite a few hiccups, this strategy actually works out pretty darn well for them. Now, on to the hidden object criteria. Barely at all. Yes, every surface is covered with piles of random nonsense, but the developers have come up with a perfect explanation for the terrible condition of this small Vermont town. It's just been struck by a once-in-a-century storm. Honestly, as if these people didn't have enough trouble with the murderous priest controlling all of their minds. They're well-built screens, very few instances of size or gravity cheating. The only times I found myself stumped and reaching for the hint button were a few of the hidden symbols, especially the Euro logo one screen asked for. Apparently when turned a little to the side and matched with a curved line, the symbol for EU currency looks like a heart. Who knew? It's all 12 one-screens here. This is a traditional hidden object game. There are environmental problems to solve, and the player will do it by picking a bunch of things up and using just one of them. It's meat and potatoes gameplay, and the game handles it well, but there are no boundaries being pushed here, nor are there any steps taken to make the hidden object scenes feel like an organic part of the world. The PlayStation controller handles the screens well. It's less precise than a mouse, of course, and more than once I found myself accidentally picking up the wrong hidden object when the game's generously sized capture circle hovered over an area. Still, it's precise enough that I was able to unlock the Finish a Hidden Object screen with less than 4 misclicks trophy without any trouble at all. The game's puzzles fit the world extremely well. There's boat repair, map construction, a few ornate locks. It all works in the small-town mystery milieu. Enigmatis' greatest strength is the mood that the developers have created. The locations are beautifully drawn, full of storm-battered houses and crumbling old buildings. They're attractive enough to look at that I almost didn't mind the game's biggest flaw: the lack of a fast travel system. Having already suffered through the game's extensive backtracking, I was saddened to see that the developers hadn't fixed that error in this console re-release of the game. I've got to say though, having access to a move back button on the controller does speed up the process quite a bit, saving the player from having to wave a cursor around the screen, looking for that sweet spot where it turns into a back arrow without hitting the inventory box. This line of dialogue about corpses stored under a floor. It's not that I disagree with her, it's just a weird thing to say. The bonus chapter comes bundled in with the console version, but I'd advise anyone buying the PC version to pick it up as well. The bonus chapter adds a good number of hidden object scenes and puzzles, but more importantly it does a great job of fleshing out one of the main characters' backstories, as well as offering a chance to visit a location long before it becomes a burned-out ruin in the main game. Enigmatis' story really is its strongest point. Using a wonderfully conceived evidence board system in which the player gradually rebuilds the case that the detective had been working on, a tale of supernatural menace is gradually revealed. For a character who gets almost zero screen time, the preacher is expertly built up as a credible threat, which makes the final confrontation with him all the more thrilling. Enigmatis confidently tells an enthralling story, full of intriguing twists and genuinely surprising reveals, kicking off a franchise with matchless skill. Enigmatis, The Ghosts of Maple Creek is available on the Sony PlayStation Store. This review is based on a copy of the game provided by the publisher. If you'd like to watch a playthrough of the game, just click on the rectangle that allows you to do that. You can find other hidden object game reviews elsewhere on this playlist. Au revoir. You know, I spent this whole review trying to decide whether it's supposed to be pronounced Enigmatis or Enigmatis, and I think I guessed right.